I almost called it Brian's Knob. That's worse.
Oh, no. Brian's Knob Juice. That's the new name of the bourbon right there. Hello, I'm Brian from Brian's Knob Juice. I take other people's juice and make it a little bit better. Come have some Brian Knob Juice.
You're listening to Slightly Uncomfortable. Are you ready?
Welcome to Slightly Uncomfortable. Tonight we have a two-person show.
Yep.
And it is Root and myself.
Yep.
Lloyd is probably off cleaning a table.
Or most likely.
Or making some sort of obnoxious noise.
Mm-hmm. Shuffling papers.
Yeah, and then, of course, there's Alex. And therefore, we have a two-chair show. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be half-assed. Oh, no. We all know. We all know where the talent lies.
Don't we, though?
And yeah, exactly. So we have decided to do a podcast tonight on what I think is going to be a really interesting topic. Of course, because I chose it.
Of course you do.
And we're also drinking bourbon this evening. I think we need to do a high-level conversation about.
We're continuing to drink bourbon this evening.
Oh, my goodness.
This is our third bottle.
This is the third bottle we've tried.
Well, that's true.
We're alcoholics, but we don't like to brag about it.
We're professionals. Highly
start-
trained professionals.
We started off this evening with just a fantastic offering. I had a chance to buy a bottle or split a bottle with Root.
Yep.
I want to remind him he still owes me.
He does. I do.
But I had a chance to get a bottle of Weller 12-year-old, and Root had never had it before. And I've always bragged about it, talked about it ever since Root and I have known each other. And we cracked the bottle this evening, sat on the front porch, nice, pretty breeze, nice evening. And he had his first pour of Weller 12. And Root, please share with him what you think.
Oh my God! That there's a couple of characteristics of Weller 12 just blows my mind. Number one, that mouthfeel. You know, that it's by no means caustic. You know, I've never made any bones about the fact that I like to feel that I'm drinking something, and Weller carries with it a little bit of a bite, but I don't miss it because the flavor is amazing. I mean, James, I was thinking at first it was like warm vanilla.
Yeah.
But then you mentioned later about the caramel that comes in there too. Oh my God.
It's very complex.
It is.
Because you get the
you
sweet
gotta wait
heat
for it.
Yeah. And then it just coats in the wild. And I've drank this many times. I've been fortunate enough to be able to get my hands on a few bottles throughout the years. And I was drinking it before it became the latest craze, before it was known to be part of the Pappy Van Winkle or Young Pappy Van Winkle. But watching it tonight, we had these taster glasses that were kind of fancy for us. Most of the time we're drinking out of a mason jar. But we had these taster glasses, and we set our drink down. And of course, we're drinking it neat. You don't drink this type of bourbon any way other than neat.
Amen.
And we set it down there on the table, and we watched the legs of it. Now, legs really doesn't mean anything to bourbon. But we watched the legs, and they were perfectly uniform throughout the bottom of that glass. And I told Ruth, I said, I've never seen that before. It was like a piece of art. And every time we set that glass down long enough, it would do that uniformed legs. Granted, they were not sitting down there that long.
No.
We were just trying to nurse it. We did not bring that bottle down to the bunker.
No.
Because we would have said, fuck the podcast.
They'd have found us down here in the morning.
Yeah. And we don't need that, because I'm calling Big Spoon right now.
You'll never go back to girls, honey.
Who am I kidding? I like to be the little spoon. But now, right now, we're a buddy of ours, Brian, had donated some juice for the show, and he took a Knob Creek 100, and he re-barreled it for 4 weeks, for a month, in a small 2.5-gallon barrel. So we'll be sampling that throughout the show and trying to determine whether we prefer the Knob Creek 100 or Brian's version.
Yep.
That's a month older in a small barrel. So that's what we're consuming tonight. But what the name of the show is,
because we don't have any of these obsessions or anything.
No. We are completely lucid at all times.
Exactly.
In control of our faculties.
We just spent a half hour talking about bourbon.
That doesn't mean we're an alcoholic. Doesn't mean we're not.
Well,
but doesn't mean we are.
Of course not.
So we're going to do a show about obsessions/disorders.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, Root, but it seems the older that we get, now in society, people talk more about their obsessions or their disorders far more than they ever would have when we were kids.
Yeah. Now there's a fan club for everything, and whether it's a medical disorder that is genetic or whatever, diabetes or anything like that. The sugar, sorry.
The sugar.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lloyd.
Yeah. Or him and his Diet Pepsi from Penn Station.
Yeah. That costs $12.
That cost $12, exactly.
That made him loopier than old Wild Turkey. Jesus Christ.
We were 2/3 of the bottle full, and I thought the man was going to fall out of his damn chair.
We were talking about something serious, and he was behind Root just laughing his ass off. It's fantastic.
So whether it's a medically diagnosed problem or just a bizarre behavior that otherwise rational people engage in, it seems like a lot of these things are being, what's the word?
Sensationalized or...
Well, that, and...
There's a community for it.
Yeah, and welcomed and encouraged. And
right, and saying you're okay with doing this.
Right, you're okay with swallowing razor blades.
Yeah, and now, it doesn't mean that we're belittling these disorders.
Not
and the impact,
most of them.
And the impact that they have on people's lives.
True.
I think back in the day, when you had some of these disorders, you were labeled crazy. Mm-hmm. You were beaten senseless by your parents. Mm-hmm. Or you committed suicide at 25 because you were weird. So I think in the regard that it is now, yes, we are allowing that platform to take place.
Yep.
But hopefully, we're also providing tools in which, if they choose to, they can change these behaviors,
right,
these disorders, these obsessions. It's just the people that don't suffer repercussions from their behavior,
societal or physical.
And sometimes you don't end up taking. I suffer from ADHD, and I have all of my life. But when I was a kid, that was not anything. Not really ADHD, ADD. I'm not hyper except inside my mind.
That makes him not hyper at all, I guess. Apparently.
Well, you can't see my hyperactivity.
Oh yes,
but I pinball that some bitch around.
James, we can see.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I was just told to set the fuck down.
Yeah.
And to pay attention. And I think I suffered a bit scholastically when I did that. Because,
that would be academically.
Well, whatever you want to say. I didn't study that word. I was distracted.
Oh, I see.
But you end up either letting it consume you,
mm-hmm, or you overcome it,
or you try to get tools in which to overcome it. And
yeah.
I learned to sit to the front of the classroom because that way I don't face as many distractions. Mm-hmm. Betty Sue's not sitting over under Daisy Dukes.
Right.
Though if Betty Sue's back there, I'm still thinking about it. I just ain't watching her. But you kind of learn to cope. But as you get older, I think sometimes these coping mechanisms are challenged by just growing older and the stressors that you face.
Right.
So these are some of those disorders, and we're going to talk about the 5 most popular obsessions/disorders.
He's already slurring.
We've
had three sips.
I won't tell you what. I'm an articulate sumbitch. If I smell bourbon,
he's a lunch.
I sound like a drooler. I mean, I hate it. I can feel it come like that. Damn it!
He's got the fat tongue.
Oh my goodness! And I haven't had that much.
No, we haven't.
I think this is still the Red Bull talk.
We had the one full pour.
It was 2-ounce pour.
You're right, yeah. Right, and just one other sip of this Knob Creek, and that was it.
So just get used to it, folks. It doesn't mean I'm drunk. I may just have an allergic reaction.
Oh, that's what it is.
It could be a disorder.
It could be. It could be. So I'm thinking it might be a result of an obsession. But
what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the top 5 most, I don't want to say popular, but that's probably the best way. Prominent. That's a great word.
Thank you.
The top 5 prominent disorders, and we're going to talk about 5 at the end of the show that you may or may not have heard of because of the lack of prominence.
in
society.
And that is what we are here for, ladies and gentlemen, to bring out these lesser known but very important issues.
Tie worlds together.
That's what we do.
We're 1,000 points of light.
Well,
quote,
at least maybe 600.
Okay, yeah. So the first, and this surprised me because there was one that I thought that would be the first, and it's not. But the first is generalized anxiety disorder, which the acronym for that, because Root loves him a fucking acronym,
GAD,
is GAD. GAD affects over 6.8 million adults, or 3.1% of the U.S. population. Yet only 43.2% are receiving treatment. Women are twice as likely to be affected as men. GLAD often occurs with major depression, or GAD, not GLAD. So,
that's interesting.
Right, anxiety disorder. Now, these are some symptoms that are slurring of speech.
Right. Hives.
Jesus Christ. No, that's the poison ivy.
No,
but,
okay.
See, these are some of the symptoms. The thought of getting through the day alone produces anxiety. Don't know how to stop the worry cycle.
Okay.
Always worrying. Believe worrying prevents bad things from happening. And struggle with physical symptoms such as stomach aches and headaches. And I know I've seen people that through their anxiety, it is manifested in physical ailments.
Absolutely.
And you'll see a lot of these obsessions or disorders, a lot of them will marry together. Because you have one, another one pops up. So it's almost like a self-defeating prophecy.
Right.
Where one counters another one and all that. And I'll be really honest. I have suffered with an anxiety disorder before.
I've never been diagnosed.
Oh, there's a lot of things you ain't been diagnosed
That's
for.
true. That's true. But I'm as certain as I can be that I do suffer with anxiety from time to time.
And I think everybody does that.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not special in that regard.
Right. Oh, you're special.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But not in that regard.
Yeah, that's right.
But a couple of those characteristics, and maybe this is why I haven't been diagnosed with it. The notion of worrying wards off bad things from happening.
But now these are not. You have to have them all to be diagnosed with this. These are common symptoms.
Yeah.
It's just like if you're getting diagnosed with a cold, you don't have to have every system. It's not a checklist. You have to have every symptom to be considered having a cold.
Right.
Because you don't cough doesn't mean you don't have a cold.
Well, but I guess where I'm coming from is my my mother and all of her people, they didn't worry. You know, if I cannot ever remember my mother being racked or showing signs of anxiety from worry. You know, I was 9 years old when her father passed, my grandfather, and if I was going to be affected by anybody else in the family, it was going to be her during that period, and I don't remember seeing her, you know, racked with fear or anxiety over what was happening with my grandfather.
She was one in control.
Yeah, absolutely. And she was a health professional, so she knew what was going on, right? So that may have played a role in it. I don't know. But, I mean, to this day, the people that I work with have heard me say this, you know, we can't worry about what we can't control.
Right.
And if you can't control whatever's happening, you just got to roll with it.
Well, I think many of these symptoms we've all had at some point or another.
Yeah.
But it's ability to control these symptoms.
Right.
And to put them in their place.
Right.
Granted, we all worry about one thing or another.
Absolutely.
Be it bills, family members,
sure,
loved ones, whatever. We all have a problem at times getting through our day.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about this being a daily occurrence.
Right. Something that you can't shake.
I remember I had one time, and this was the only time I thought I was going to have like an anxiety attack. I had a bunch of stuff going on, and I just needed to get the fuck out of the office. And that's the only time I ever felt that way. And
Yeah.
that was when I decided to go to the doctor, because I did not want, I've always been able to maintain. I did not want me to have an event
Yeah.
that was catastrophic.
Well, yeah.
Saying something wrong to the wrong person, hurting someone's feelings that I cannot take back. And I am by nature a very violent guy. It could have gotten much worse than that.
Things can go very south.
And then I
when we
would
get
be
to
in
that
jail.
point. Right.
So I had a doctor tell me one time, says, you know what, you've done a good job, because the ADD can get you anxious, can get you a lot of different things. You've done a good job at maintaining, but life shouldn't be that hard.
Right.
Let us give you something to assist with that. So,
And that began James's lifelong affair
With
with
bourbon.
bourbon.
I'm like, Doc, I think I got this. Can you get this on my copay?
Right.
This Weller was only $4.25
Right.
at the Kroger's. So, GAD, 6.8 million adults, a little over 3% of the U.S. population.
Call me curmudgeon here.
Oh, I called you much more than that.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the first time I've been called a curmudgeon.
Be the last.
I have. Y'all can call me asshole for this. Actually, wouldn't be the first time for that.
We
either.
don't need permission to call you anything.
But I gotta wonder how many of those 6.8 million is for show, because anxiety is a lifestyle anymore, and people freaking out over stupid shit is
and we could
the
call,
cause for the Kardashians and all the
we
bullshit.
could call any of these obsessions.
Well, and we could
For
fly
show.
the bullshit flag on them too.
But we have to do
And be assholes for it.
And I think we've created a platform to enable the posers to show up.
Well, right, and that's my point. Exactly.
But unfortunately, it's almost like when somebody says, I want to commit suicide.
right,
You have to address it as being valid,
yeah,
whether it is or not, because these type of obsessions, if left untouched, can become very problematic, not only to the people that are affected by them, but to the people that they are surrounded by.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing stuff like that with the mass shootings, things like that. I think had these things been addressed, or these people been vocal about it, or as Root, as you've said many times, when the people around them see a change
right
in their
Behavior.
temperament,
Yeah,
an intervention, something like that. I think even though it may not be classic, or it may not be in our minds many times genuine, because Root and I were brought up in the same cloth, and like, straighten your shit up,
yeah,
get better at it.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about it.
mm-hmm.
You're worried about it. Don't worry about it. That kind of stuff.
Suck
but
it
at
up.
the end of the day, you can't do it.
Right.
And I think that's the perspective that we've got to tackle these things from.
Yeah, I'll give you
because
that.
we call bullshit on any of this.
Well, yeah, but I'm and again, it may be this isn't something that I struggle with all the time. So clearly, it's bullshit, right?
If it doesn't affect Root,
Then fuck it.
therefore it has no validity. All right, we see the perspective he's coming from.
And I think the folks, all 25 of you listening to the show.
At 24, I pissed one off.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. Well, fuck
Well,
him.
we don't know what Alex is doing. So
yeah.
he may not even be listening.
That's a valid point. That's a valid point. So yeah, take my curmudgeonness, please, with a grain of salt.
We'll just do that as the overall caveat to the show.
Yeah, for the entire show.
Root just
not just this episode.
Yeah. We'll do the entire show. All right, now number 2 in popularity is panic disorder.
Yeah.
Acronym PD. PD affects 6 million adults, or 2.7% of the U.S. population. Again, women are twice as likely to be affected as men.
I'm just going to shut up on that one.
Well, these are statistics that I got off of I can't remember the website, but it looked legit.
Therefore.
It didn't have any girls maybe in your area type ads on there. So here's some symptoms of it. It's out of the blue panic attacks, preoccupation with fear, distancing themselves from friends. So,
Hey.
I'm just saying.
Hey, I'm an introvert. I'm paid to be this way.
Well, and one of the things that I read was, and we'll go into this a little bit later when we talk about another one, is shyness or introverts does not, those are totally different things than this.
Yeah.
Because we've got to understand that there are times when we're scared. We're preoccupied with fear, regardless of whether there's an event coming up at work or a test or maybe a loved one going in for surgery.
Right.
That's fear. This is the stuff that you can't control. There's no cause and effect.
It's irrational.
Yeah, right. In your mind, you think there's a cause and effect.
Right.
But there isn't.
Right.
So,
or sometimes in your mind, you know there's no reason to be afraid.
but you still
But
can't
you're
stop
still
it.
got the trembles and all that. This is something that I can relate to. As a child, I would just break out into a panic, hypervent, everything, trembling, couldn't walk, couldn't move, but I didn't know why.
Did that happen when we were fishing?
No, it did not. And
Was there
fuck you for it.
Was there sweating involved?
No,
You
no,
had
no.
a hard time walking.
I did.
There was sweating. I think there was some
It was
trembling.
uneven ground. That's what it was. But I mean, this is something that I really can relate to because panic attacks come out of nowhere, and you can, once you've dealt with it enough, intellectually, you know that there is no reason for this, but you're still amped, and any sudden movements or anything has you jerky and reactive, and it's pretty damn scary shit.
Yeah. Now, this is something that I've never suffered with, so I can't say as though I have a firsthand understanding of this, although I'm familiar with people who has. I think there's a big difference for me between an anxiety attack and a panic attack.
Yeah.
As anxiety attack is something that you can keep almost under surface, under the awareness of the folks around you. But a panic attack,
It manifests.
yeah, it is outward.
Yeah.
And can be really problematic in the fact that you can be getting something out of the refrigerator, and you get struck with a panic attack. Again, no cause and effect.
Right.
No stimulus that you should have this reaction to.
Yeah.
It's just totally out of the blue.
Yep. And I know people. I've got close friends that have this kind of thing, and they will. The first time a high school buddy of mine had one of these panic attacks, he thought he was having a heart attack.
Exactly. Yes.
And I mean, he called the girlfriend at the time and said, "You got to take me to the ER right now." And so off they go, and no cardiac issue at all. It was just all these chest muscles tensing up.
The total stressed out of, it's like a full body workout.
Yep.
So that's number 2. Number 3, social anxiety disorder. Acronym, appropriately enough, SAD.
It's not necessarily sad.
SAD affects 15 million adults, or 6.8 of the U.S. population.
Just because we don't want to be around the rest of you assholes.
Right, I like how you said we. SAD is equally common among men as women. Typically begins around the age of 13. According to a 2007 ADAA survey, 36% of all people with social anxiety disorder reported experiencing symptoms for more than 10 years before seeking help. Here's some of the common symptoms. Intense anxiety or fear of being judged or rejected in a social or performance situation.
Performance situation.
Can't be a porn star. People with social anxiety disorder may worry about acting or appearing visibly anxious, such as blushing, stumbling over your words,
Really?
or
James.
maybe slurring. I
Or
don't know.
slurring, maybe.
By the way, guys, I don't give a shit. It pisses me off. Still don't give a shit. If you all heard the fishing podcast, evidently I have no problem with that at all. Physical symptoms such as a rapid heart rate, nausea, sweating,
Shut up.
and may experience full-blown attacks when confronting a feared situation. It is important to note, and this is one I was speaking about earlier, it's important to note that this disorder is not simply shyness. Two different things. So the way I kind of see this coming is you're scared of being around in social situations.
Yeah.
And I have experienced some of this. I'm a very outgoing guy by public perception. And one of the reasons was I was desperately shy and introverted up till I was about 13, 14 years old. And I went to the doctor, and I had peptic ulcer
Oh, wow.
at 13. And my doctor said, you either start saying what you think or you're going to really have some health issues because you're holding way too much stuff in. I was ultra shy.
And he's been a fuck bomb in waiting ever since.
Yeah, and my mom, about 3 years later, going, "Thanks, Doc." He's home from school again. He's beat the shit out of somebody. Right. And the next day, somebody beat the shit out of him. But I decided, and as many people do, I'm not necessarily outgoing. I'm an outgoing introvert. Is if I initiate the communication, I control it. I'm not relegated to what somebody else starts. I'm not on the defensive at that point. I'm on the offensive. That has been my coping mechanism to get through this. Is I've always taken positions, whether I was a preacher, teacher, coach, tour guide, whatever the case may be, I've always taken positions where I am the one in control of the communication. I can start it, and I can shut that shit down anytime I want to. And that has been my way of coping with that. Mm-hmm. Even to this day, if I go to a bar, I'm sitting on the outside of the bar. I do not have my back to the door. I do not also have my back to the crowd.
Right.
I cannot have more people behind me than in front of me.
No. I can't do that.
If I'm at, say, Kings Island, I can prepare myself for that, but I still stay on the fringes.
Yeah.
So I think I suffer from this. I don't want to say suffer. I think that's too aggressive of a term. This is something that I've learned how to cope with.
Yeah.
And there are times if I am tired or if I'm otherwise stressed that these situations can become almost unbearable. I have been in the middle of Kroger. Had a buggy full of groceries, and somebody bump into my buggy one time too many, and I leave that shit sitting there and I walk out. You can just kind of feel that environment. And at that point, I'm not scared of judgment.
Right.
I'm just wanting to get the fuck out of there. Yeah. I don't want to be around people. Yeah. And you've heard me say on this podcast many times, I'm not a big fan of white people. Yeah. That can be expanded over to people.
Right.
I'm a big fan of persons, not people. Individuals I love. Crowds I don't.
I hate just about everyone equally.
I know you do.
I've always been the loner. I'm an only child, so
we both are.
Okay, yeah, that's true enough. So I've always done my own thing, and when the school projects, right, where you get teamed up with the other three assholes,
hated those three.
I always do the job. I always did it all because it's easier to do that than to try and convince these fuckers to do it the way it should be done, which is clearly my way, or to just not do anything and don't help. No, I'll do it all. I'll just do it all. I don't want to hear your justification. If you think I'm fucking it up, you let me know and we can have the conversation. But if you ain't even willing to do that, go the fuck home. I'm done.
You know, and Root and I have learned in the period of time that we've known each other that we both go about things totally differently. And we let one another do that.
Yeah.
You know, and it seems to have worked harmoniously.
Harmony. Boy, you almost got it.
I about came close.
You did. You about.
But I think this social anxiety disorder, I would say this number's low on how many people have a tendency, a touch of this, you know?
I would like to think so, but it might be that it strikes home to me, though. And you know,
and maybe it's more common in our area. Because I would almost say that the fear of speaking in front of people may have a tendency to be in this, fall underneath this umbrella.
I don't know. That might come down to what you said, being able to control the conversation.
Yes.
And I can stand up in front of however many people and talk about a subject that I know and go for hours. And,
we know.
And yeah,
we know.
Yeah. And have interaction, call out people in the audience, you know, and have a good time with it. And everybody has a good time with it.
Of course they do, as far as
you know. Of course they do, as far as, yeah.
It makes the story better.
Well, no, they absolutely have a good time with it, because they don't, I'm going to kick their ass. So, no.
I will kill them.
Okay, so I boarded the doors closed. But yeah, I don't know. For me as an introvert, when I get in those kinds of crowded environments, if I willingly subject myself to a concert for a band that I love, right? I saw Blues Traveler here in Frankfurt in the fall, maybe last year. But love Blues Traveler, had a great time. But when I bought the tickets, I had 2 requirements: on the edge or in the back, because there's not a bad seat in the Grand.
Right.
So it is either going to be on the edge or in the back. My wife understands this.
We don't know that she exists.
Yeah, she does.
I think there was a broom sitting next to him with a wig on it.
No.
Like Wilson. Wilson.
I to bring a basketball. No.
The volleyball.
No.
But I know exactly what you mean, and
Yeah.
it's knowing your limitations or your triggers.
It's not even that.
For me, it is.
After a psychoanalysis, that may be what the shrink says, okay? From my perspective, when I'm in those environments, is I don't trust other people. And if shit goes south, I want a way out.
And for me, I would agree with both of what you said, but my primary concern is I don't trust me. If some bitch bumps into me a couple of times, it's on.
Yeah.
He's in my space, and this is my space. And I know that, and I've even been bouncers in bars before. But again, every position I've ever taken has been me in control. Mm-hmm. And everybody has to be relegated to my stimulus. I do not have to deal with their shit.
Right.
I can remove them or remove myself. Mm-hmm. Easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I'm pretty much in the same boat. I choose to remove myself more often than not. And the several times, I guess, where I had to remove other people, it got ugly quick.
Yeah.
And, shit happens.
Yeah, the times I've had to remove other people, I've been very fortunate in my life that I think they can look in my eye and know that there's something behind here you don't want to meet. And they normally conform to whatever I'm asking them to do. Knock on wood.
That's plastic.
Well, there's no wood down here.
Right.
Knock on naughty
Don't
pine.
knock on that.
Yeah. I'm excited to be here today. All right, so we're on number 4.
Okay, here we go.
This is the biggest surprise to me of anything. Because when I was thinking about disorders, this is the one that I thought would be number 1.
Okay.
Obsessive compulsive disorder. It's one that everybody hears of.
Right.
OCD. I'm a little OCD about this. I'm a little OCD about that. Well, here's the stats. OCD affects 2.2 million adults, or 1% of the United States population. OCD is equally common among men and women. The average age of onset is 19, with 25% of cases occurring by age of 14.
Wow.
1/3 of the affected adults first experience symptoms in childhood. This is the symptoms. Obsessions are intrusive and unwanted. That's a big caveat there. That's an underline. Intrusive and unwanted. Images or urges that cause distress or anxiety. Concerns about contamination, cleanliness, aggressive impulses, or the need for symmetry. Now, I have a story.
Uh-oh. No.
Yes.
What?
I think I would always say that this tinges more on ADD than obsessive compulsive. However, it does fit this criteria. I was married to my second wife. We lived in an old 1800s farmhouse, and we had 1 bathroom. Now, when you're a newly married couple and you have 1 bathroom, you get to know your beloved on a whole different level. So it was one morning. It was a very small bathroom, too. I mean, this was a bathroom that was added on because there was an outhouse out back. I mean, this is how that house is.
Yeah.
Very cool, just space to live in. Very cool. So I'm sitting on the commode because I'm a squatter. I'm a squatter. I mean, if you see me sitting on the commode, could be pooping, maybe peeing. We don't know. I like to sit down.
And he's going to take for fucking ever
I
while
will.
he's doing it.
I will. So I'm sitting there doing my morning constitutional. I knew I had to pee. Could end up in the poop. We don't know because I'm going to wait it out. So
anybody who takes reading material into the bathroom, come on.
So my ex is standing at the sink, naked. She had a fantastic onion. So I was enjoying my constitution, and like anybody, she's not a freak or anything, but like anybody, they have a little peach fuzz. Ladies have a little peach fuzz on the rear end.
Oh yeah.
So I'm seeing that glistening in the morning light, and this is one of I have 2 stories about her. I reach up and pull that hair.
And she slapped the shit
smacks
right out
the piss out of me. just smacks. Oh Lord Jesus, she smacked me hard. That country girl just laid me open, and I'm like, what the hell? She goes, why would you pull that here? It's the morning. I'm like, well, it was there. Right. So that's one of them. And the same lady that we were dating at this point, so she knew what she was getting into. We were dating at this point. She's laying on the couch in my apartment downtown Frankfurt, and she has socks on, and she's laying on her stomach with her feet up, like her feet are kind of hovering up there. And I'm going around lighting candles in the apartment because I was a single male. And candles help to get rid of that odor we don't know where it's coming from. Right. So this is before the candle warmers and the diffusers and all that stuff I use now. So I'm going around lighting candles, and I'm like, I'll give her a hot foot.
Oh,
so
dude.
I took this candle lighter.
You did not.
And I'm like, I'm going to just run it over her foot and just kind of give her a hot foot. Little did I know that socks are combustible.
Oh, my God.
And I'm running it like this, and I hear... And I have lit her foot on fire. And
oh my God, you did not.
And I tamper it out. I mean, she didn't get burned or anything, but she looked at me. She goes, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Pyro fucking maniac.
So I love fire, but I've had those type of compulsions. For a long time, but I don't think
that's not this. That's just being an asshole.
No, I think it's ADD, because ADD, part of its thing is you act without thinking.
Yeah.
You don't think of consequences. You say, this will be fun, and you do it.
Right.
And then you learn that was a bad decision.
Setting your girlfriend's feet on fire, typically a bad call.
And she married me anyway. Again, there should be no
only
surprises.
to get her ass hair pulled.
Damn, she kicks like a mule. But
I've done a lot of crazy shit, man. I have never done that one.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's new.
That's the reason you hang out with me is you don't feel quite as crazy when you go home.
That's a fact.
Because I'm there.
I feel damn near normal.
Between Lloyd and I and Alex, you don't feel quite as crazy. So
ain't that the truth?
OCD. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it in your nerd world.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's and I think everybody has a touch of it.
To a degree.
Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Do you think you have a touch of it?
Oh, you've seen my office.
Well, that cleanliness isn't a factor.
But the order is.
Well, you know where shit is.
Do I? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Of course I do.
But if you had to pick out in your life where it...
Yes, I think I could be... I think I do have a touch of it in there, but it's not in any place that anybody's going to see it out in the social world. My compulsion is, God help me. Nobody listening to this is going to understand it.
We're all friends.
File naming.
What?
File naming.
Oh, I've seen it
on a computer. Yeah,
because
James has absolutely seen it.
The way this podcast works is I've got the computer in front of me. No matter how much Root makes fun of it, it is my computer, and it's in front of me.
It's so $120 Walmart special on Black Friday.
At the end of the show, I end up converting it and dumping into our G drive, so he can then go in there and edit it. And he always wants me to name it with date and some sort of military code, and there's a barcode involved there. And I will name it some of the stupidest ass stuff.
He does.
I'll say extra shit. Yeah. And he'll say, well, put the date on. I'm like, today.
And he puts spaces. He puts spaces in file names. It drives me insane.
And that's the reason I do it. It's like walking into one of these people that have an OCD and you move their pen.
Yeah.
And just watch them lose their damn mind because their pen's been moved. I think one of my things is cleanliness and contamination. I think that is something that I will wrestle with because just going out to eat, I have to put my mind away from what I could possibly be consuming. The worst place for me to go is a hotel.
Oh yeah.
Even though I really enjoy traveling, I really have a hard time with hotels because I'm fully aware of the behavior that takes place in the hotel, and also the lack of cleanliness on flipping said behavior over.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the comforters rarely ever get washed, and you know, bed bugs and all
mattresses don't get replaced.
Exactly. You know, so why there are fabric chairs and sofas in these damn hotel rooms. There is something called pleather. It's not expensive. Buy that shit for these hotel rooms.
I took a business trip to someplace out west and had some friends nearby, right? So I concluded the business trip, left the business vehicle at the site, and I'd figured out I'd worked all the magic to get back in so I could get to it, and had a friend take me to a rental place so I could drive further out west to take care of some, hang out with some buddies.
He's running drugs.
It was actually guns. I was actually delivering a couple of Mosin guns.
One hand scratches the other.
Yeah. Hey, at least it didn't cross state lines this time.
Okay, this time.
This time, yeah. It was a first. So I spent the night at this at this hotel in God's own Paducah, Kentucky. How many hotels have you ever walked into that had hardwood floors? And it made me wonder, what the hell went on in here?
Although I'll tell you what, I'd like it better than carpet. Because ain't nothing soaked in them hardwood floors.
That's
they can
true.
mop that shit.
It was just me traveling, so I didn't care if it was Murder Hotel. I didn't care. I had 4 Mosin Nagants and a couple of sidearms with me.
Yeah, but that jism that you're sleeping on with your head first, it does not. Those guns are not going to.
I've slept in worse, I think.
Oh, we don't need to cover that.
That part wasn't the concern. The concern was people trying to come in and find my drugs.
And your guns.
So
I think of all the ones we're going to talk about, I think people are more familiar with OCD.
I think so.
Because I think it's highlighted more on television.
Mm-hmm. Monk.
Monk. It's got the, what was his, The Office.
Milton, Office Space. You're thinking?
Well, not that one. I'm thinking about the TV show Office.
Never saw it.
Oh, it's really good.
I don't watch TV.
Most TV shows will have somebody that has a touch of this here or there, and I think we all have things that we're very particular about.
Yeah.
And I'll notice in my house. My house may not be the cleanest place, but I'll know that pillow is right where it needs to be.
Right.
Because and I think one of the reasons that people gravitate more toward OCD is as you get older, you lose more and more control of your daily life. Mm-hmm. You're more subjected to other people's decisions.
If you allow it. Yeah.
Right. Or just banks, bills, things like that. You really start losing control. So I remember I was injured, tore my Achilles tendon, and I was not weight bearing for 10 weeks. And I was sitting there, and I could not get up. And that one picture on the wall that was slightly crooked drove me crazy. So, I think everybody's got a tendency to fixate on things that really don't have any rational reason for.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think we don't really need to go into that any further because I really think that everybody knows about that one.
Yeah. But just for the people who watch Monk and they think that behavior is funny to look at, and it was sensationalized, I think, in his show, although some of the people who suffer from it greatly are that and worse. Just imagine for a minute having to have everything a certain way, having to touch certain things all the time.
And you'll see repetitive measures, like where you have to check a door 5 times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You'll have to go and check a window. I've seen people that have had to do that, and they know it's obsessive.
Right.
But they cannot rest.
Right. Until it's done.
Right.
And then they can't rest again until it's done
Well, it's the same thing when you go in there and touch their pen.
Right.
That pen was in its place for a reason.
Yeah. And there's probably 45 different things they have to do now to get that pen right back where it needs to be.
Right.
And they can't stop it. They know it's ridiculous. They're embarrassed because they have to go through all this.
And you'll be able to see somebody when you do something that exceeds their obsessive compulsion. They can't focus now on what you're talking about.
Right.
They have to address that as they just want to get you out of the room so that can be addressed before they can move on with their day. And I think it's at times crippling.
Absolutely.
And there is so many hours of their day that is, I don't want to say wasted, but is
consumed.
Consumed by that behavior. Now, this is going to be the last one we're going to do. And I think this is going to hit closer to Root in given his background. And this is post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
PTSD. I think we're all relatively familiar with this one as well.
Yeah.
But PTSD affects 7.7 million adults, or 3.5% of the United States population. Women, oddly enough, are more likely to be affected than men. Rape is the most likely trigger of PTSD. 65% of men and 45.9% of women who are raped will develop this disorder. Childhood sexual abuse is a strong predictor of a lifetime or likelihood of developing PTSD. People have experienced or witnessed a natural disaster, serious accident, terrorist incident, sudden death of a loved one, war, violent personal assault such as rape or other life-threatening events are highly susceptible.
Yep.
Research has recently showed that PTSD among military personnel may be a physical brain injury, specifically a damage to tissue caused by blasts during combat. Systems can cause problems with trust, closeness, communication, and problem solving, which may affect the way the survivor acts with others.
Yeah, I've got all kinds of friends that have been diagnosed with PTSD. 90% of those are from military experience or law enforcement or fire department service, that kind of thing. And it's interesting, particularly the folks that I'm really close with, hanging out with other guys of like mind and just telling literal war stories, and everybody's cutting up, everybody's, because we're dark and we're twisted, that's one of the coping mechanisms of this
Right.
shit. And so everybody's cutting up, everybody's enjoying the storytelling, and then inevitably the conversation turns to, well, how are you doing now? It's almost an expectation that we're still dealing with this in one way, shape, or another. I was never fired at in anger. I never left the continental United States.
CODIS.
CONUS.
He said that in one of the earlier podcasts.
Yeah,
I've
he
been
had
trying
no
to get it
idea.
Right. I thought he said coitus. I'm like, why wouldn't you want coitus? What the fuck's wrong with you?
But the PTSD is a peculiar thing that it affects everybody a little bit differently.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the more, unique stories I've had is I was in a training in Del Hollow Lake, Kentucky, which is a good piece away from Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with a group of people, and their training session on the last day was going to last longer than mine because of the classes that we chose. So I had like 3 hours I was going to have to wait on these people. And one of the ladies that was in my trainings was leaving then, and she goes, "Would you like to ride with me? I'm going back to Frankfurt. Would you like to ride with me?" And I'm like, "Well, sure." And we had not really talked that whole much, but we had connected throughout the training and such. And she seemed perfectly nice. And we got in her little VW Beetle, one of the newer ones, a yellow one, which fit her because, she was a small, little, spunky lady. And we're driving up through God's country.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "Well, this is a big day for me." And I'm like, "Why is that?" And she said, "Well, you're the first man that I've ever allowed to ride in my car since my event." And I'm like, at this point, I'm just like, "Can we get us a drink? I want to just drop off here at the gas station."
I see Billy Bob with his hog farm. Why don't I just stay
but,
and go
you know
visit?
what? I think I'm perfectly fine walking from here.
Right.
But I could tell she was very sincere, and I wanted to hear her out. And she said at a convention, like 5 years earlier, she was staying at a hotel in Louisville. And she went back to her room, and a man pushed her in and raped her in her own room. And she ended up, they ended up finding him.
Great.
And she attended his trial, where she was put on trial as well.
Absolutely. all the time.
And he was convicted, and she has since went back to every probation hearing since then.
Good on her.
And
That takes balls.
And she said, it's quite a step for me to allow myself to be alone with a man in a situation where I could become vulnerable. And she said, "I really appreciate you riding with me." And I mean, I could not have more mad respect for a lady that would voluntarily put herself back in that situation.
Well, and then
at a conference.
Yeah, and then tell it.
Yeah.
I mean, that that woman's got bigger balls than both of us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe just you.
Well, I've got one slightly larger than the. Oh, and we won't get into that. There's really no reason to cover that. But to see that firsthand, and to see the difficulty in coping with that, and I'm very fortunate in the fact that I've not had an event in my life that has caused me to have those type of feelings. And anybody that's listening that is in my same situation, count yourself fortunate.
Well, and one thing else that I've learned over the years is you just never know. It doesn't, the media and the stories and the movies and all that would have us believe that it has to be some major, massive, traumatic event.
It could just be traumatic to you.
Right.
And really not make any sense to anyone else is why it's affecting you this way. A death of a parent, a sibling, a child. And that kind of stuff. Even
I've got a buddy who was on a guard rotation. This is in Afghanistan, right? And his guard rotation had cycled off. The next guard rotation is up, and basically they just take a ride around a given route, and he came off a guard rotation, filled in for another guy who, for whatever, they just swapped. They just needed a guy in this spot. So because of that, it made him miss his next rotation with his normal crew. Well, that next crew had somebody else fill in for that guy's spot, and that's kind of normal. But on that route, they were ambushed, and 3 of the 5 in this particular outfit were killed. And
the guilt associated with that. Yep.
Yeah. The dude finished his tour, and came home, and he started having trouble, relating with people, and a lot of the symptoms started to manifest, and he understood what those symptoms were, but he couldn't put it together, and until he talked with a private shrink, and that's when it all started to come together for him. So it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be the Battle of Fallujah.
Or something that you've seen. It may just be internal feelings that you have.
Yeah.
Be it of guilt, responsibility, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And it's haunting. I mean, it's
That's
just
it. Yeah.
And I could have went in while I was doing my research to find out possible treatments for these ailments or these conditions. I chose not to because obviously therapy, obviously there's probably some medication that will help deaden some of those feelings. But I think of all the ones we've spoke about, I think the PTSD is something that, you can't control what you wake up in the nightmare thinking about.
Right.
The visions that you see, and I think that's one of the things that we really need to be cognizant of, because a lot of these you can call bullshit on, as you mentioned earlier.
Right.
This isn't one of those, because nobody's going to wish this. Nobody's going to do this for attention.
You might be surprised.
Well, but I mean, within normal social circles. If you're in a military community and everybody else is talking about PTSD, you may make up some shit to get to be part of the club. That's going to happen. But I'm talking about overall. With humanity, you're not going to see that a whole lot.
You shouldn't, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is something that,
and
it's one of the sadder ones to me, because there has been a tragedy. There has been an event. There has been a situation to where most of the time I can look at those when they're explained to me and go, anybody would have an issue with that.
Yeah.
This is not on you.
Well, and the crazy thing is, the 4 guys riding in a Humvee, right? Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever. And the IED goes off. The 2 guys in the front lose both their legs. Everybody gets carried back. Everybody survives. All the medical stuff's taken care of. Only one of them come out of that with any kind of PTSD symptoms. Well, so it's so hit and miss, and everybody reacts to these things differently.
But I mean, there are, some people are more sensitive to different things than other people. I mean, it's just the way we're made up. It's our genetics.
Yeah,
I cry over TV. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
You cried over the Weller earlier today.
I did. I teared up a little bit. Yeah. But I mean, and I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
Because that's just who I am. I'm an emotional guy. My dad does the same thing.
Yeah.
And I get it honestly.
Sure.
Yeah, I used to struggle with the embarrassment of that, but now I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, embrace it.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't get a chance to have that many moments. I'm going to enjoy those ones I do.
Right.
I'm not going to be embarrassed by
I
it.
appreciate them.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing to the 20. Are we down to 22 yet? Think we pissed anybody
Well, I
else off?
think I saw somebody drop off.
Okay,
We
so-
may be in the teens now.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. So all 12 of you listening right now, if you know somebody, or if you think you might have this kind of PTSD issue or suffer from any of these things, don't let it get the best of you. You know, go find the help that you need. Particularly, but the PTSD thing is a little bit close to home for me.
Sure.
Reach out to somebody.
Well, you know
Reach
what?
out.
And honestly, if for any of these disorders,
Absolutely.
go on our webpage, go on our Facebook, you know, SlightlyUncomfortable.com, or go on our Facebook page. And if you need help, reach out to us, and we'll get you a phone number.
We'll find something.
We'll find you a community. We'll get
Yeah.
you a phone number.
Yeah.
We'll get you something that will help you know that, number one, you're not alone,
Right.
and what you're feeling is not unique just to you.
That's right.
Because a lot of times when you can open up the world and people can realize that there are more than just them.
Yeah.
Because you know, a lot of times when you're in any of these, you think you're an anomaly.
Right.
You think you're weird. You think you're scarred, and nobody else can understand what you're going through. When there are 3.4 million people out there with the same damn condition you
Right.
have,
Exactly. And
you're a computer keystroke away from getting to know those folks and be able to gain strength through their challenges as well as yours.
And the military community has its own issues here, because if
But also rape victims.
right.
I mean, the solidarity that you find in people that have shared experiences that are traumatic is hugely impacting
Absolutely.
on the recovery process.
Yeah.
It's the same as Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the same as Narcotics Anonymous. You're getting together to find support and strength within the numbers that you know.
The not to belittle the other communities, but again, the military community is a little bit close to home. When one of our folks starts getting in that dark place, and they're told to call, go to the hospital and have a conversation with somebody. Well, that puts a name on a record, and then the cops will start looking at them,
Especially today.
Yeah. There are resources out there, one of which is an organization I volunteered with for a couple of years. It's called Battle in Distress. They're on Facebook. Look them up. If you start having these issues, reach out to them via Messenger or a post at Battle in Distress on Facebook. They're not going to report you to the VA. They're not going to call the local cops. The people who volunteer there, who are counselors, they have been where you are. They're retired vets. They're families of vet members. They are trained to deal with exactly what you're dealing with.
And that's the thing, is if you don't know where the resources are, reach out to us, because we may not know a lot, but I definitely know how to research shit.
That he does.
And I will find out a number, a place, a person,
a safe way for you to get the help that you need.
Yeah, not to where we're going to put you on blast or anything like that. So, please, I mean, if you get anything from this podcast, if you're suffering from any of these, or you just think you have a family member that may be, reach out to us. We're not professionals. We're not trained at this,
but we can find them. We can find them.
What I'm really good at is bourbon. But if you reach out to one of us, we're going to find a way to help you out. And if
absolutely.
nothing else, you got somebody in your corner.
Yep.
So now, going from that serious stuff,
dark stuff, let's lighten it up,
to the lesser known disorders.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to go and say on the bourbon. All right.
Can we have a halftime? Let's have a halftime.
Halftime.
Because
you're not drinking.
I know, because I was waiting to clear my palate so that we could get to halftime so I could try Brian's juice.
Well, I'm glad you're waiting, because there's more for me.
I've already seen you go through it about 4 times.
No, so. I'm going to be honest. We've got the Knob Creek, and then we have the Brian version of Knob Creek.
Right. Brian Creek.
Yeah. I'm going to say, Brian, you nailed it, buddy. I said, I really prefer that. Now, go ahead and take you another sip, Root. I prefer his much more than the Knob Creek. To me, it's just easier to drink. Because honestly, with Knob Creek, normally I put an ice cube in it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that this evening because I want a true comparison.
Right.
I think the Knob Creek's aggressive. I don't think it ever mellows out, and I find Brian's very enjoyable.
You know, on a clean palate, I do too.
Yeah, it's really good. Now go and try that other Knob Creek. Try the original, and just
think
watch
I'll
what
try
it
that
does.
again.
Now just watch what it does.
I know what it's going to do.
I don't know that you do because you've already had your palate acclimated to the Brian. I don't want to say Brian juice. That's creepy.
Well, I almost called it Brian's Knob. That's worse.
Oh, no. Brian's Knob Juice. That's the new name of the bourbon right there. Hello, I'm Brian for Brian's Knob Juice. I take other people's juice and make it a little bit better. Come have some Brian Knob Juice.
Oh, we got to come up with a label and put it on that bottle.
That may be our second sponsor.
I think it is.
Brian's Knob Juice.
Knob Juice. Oh, that's beautiful.
Speaking of sponsors,
Oh, yes.
we have our first and only sponsor. Which,
okay, before we get there.
oh, hang on, Mike.
Woo!
I'm right. It assaults you.
Yeah. Comparing the Knob Creek 100
To Brian's Knob Juice.
To Brian's Knob Juice. Taking it that quickly together.
Yes.
And I'm a huge fan of Knob Creek.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Knob Creek, but that is brutal
Comparatively. Yes.
Oh my God.
Man, that 4 weeks in that barrel really calmed it right down.
It does. And I think the harshness of Knob Creek covers up some of the flavors that extra month in the barrel
That's
brings
a fair
out.
point. That's a fair point.
Because I'm
Now it makes me want to go buy one of them little 2.5 gallon barrels.
and experiment.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Man, that Knob Creek though will put some hair on your chest.
Ooh, speaking of hair, now Mike will not cut your chest hair. I've
No,
asked.
Oh, I bet you
I
have.
only have 4, so I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. But he kind of weighed out about it.
Yeah, well,
So
he's kind of sensitive about that.
Mike,
He's a
at the-
family man.
at the Plaza Barbershop, Frankfort, Kentucky, in the Save-A-Lot parking lot, is an amazing barber. I mean, I'm getting ready to go see him this week. Now,
I think I'm going to have to as well.
we
We should make it a couple's date.
Oh, we're not doing that. I went to see him on Friday of last week, which was the Friday prior to Father's Day, which I should have known it was going to be a busy day. I had a challenging schedule, but there were people literally lined up
Out
just
the
for
door?
Mike's chair,
Oh yeah.
just for Mike's chair. And he was doing a little boy, and beautiful
That
haircut.
could not be any creepier.
Well, he was doing a little. We're talking about cutting hair. God damn it! Get off the dark web, fucker. He was cutting little boy's hair. Then he cut his daddy's hair. Then another, and I'm like, I waved at him.
Mm-hmm.
This is how good Mike is. I waved at him. I said, "Man, I'm gonna have to catch you another day. I got to get somewhere." He goes, "I'm sorry, man." He looked like he was genuinely upset. I'm like, "Dude, don't worry about it."
You're making money, man.
And he said, "But I'm open tomorrow at 8 a.m. You know, if you want to come back, I'm open at 8 a.m." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it, man. You're good. You're good. Have a good weekend." So when you find somebody that takes that kind of passion in what it is that they do and the service they provide, and he will not hurry you up. Like sometimes I get my beard taken care of, sometimes I don't. And I'll get in the chair and I'm like, all right, we're going to take care of the hair and the beard. And he will not hurry.
Right.
He takes his time. And I think you see that in the product. And most old, when I've got my hair cut before, I look for old men.
Right.
Because they're the ones that still take true pride in their craft.
Well, we found a young man that does it.
And he
this
does.
time.
I mean, he's younger than us. And,
Yeah.
and we make light of Mike's Barbershop. No, I'm sorry, Plaza Barbershop. Mike, they're in the Save-A-Lot parking lot, Frankfort, Kentucky. We make light of it because he's a funny guy and he loves this shit.
Yeah.
I know when I send him the shows, he absolutely loves it. Because I thought a couple times, yeah, we're going to lose him on that.
We take certain liberties.
We do. And that's what he said, though, when he wanted to do this spot. I said, would you like to write out a spot for us to do? He goes, no, man, I love your show. Just go and do it the way you do it. Do this the way you do your show.
You're sure about this?
Yeah, I asked him. And the last time I was in there, he still shook my hand. So if you have a haircut need,
Any kind of haircut.
although I
need,
did find out,
except apparently for chest hair,
does not cut women's hair.
He does not.
He does not cut women's
I
hair.
wonder why that is. Because he's a family man.
He's a family man. He's not going to be tempted by the beautiful hair of
See,
a
there
young
you
lady.
go. That's it. Right
And
there.
also, he says they're too damn particular.
And who could argue that?
So, ladies, you may have to find another person.
Yep. There's a young lady up there at the Plaza Barbershop.
There's two.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two. I think young's a stretch, but Depends on your age, I guess. Everybody's
Never met
young
him
if
personally. I
you're-
just saw the women's names up there, and I figured they can't be as old as I am. So,
Oh, that's cute. But please go see Mike at the Plaza Barbershop.
Where's that
Kentucky,
again?
In the Save-A-Lot parking lot.
in the Save-A-Lot parking lot.
Parking lot synonymous with fine establishments.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, so going back to our disorders.
Yes.
Not our disorders.
Well,
Common disorders.
which we may or may not dabble in from
All
time
of
to
them.
time. Yeah.
Every one of them. So these are the odd disorders. Maybe the disorders you've not heard of. Maybe the ones that are a little bit more off the beaten path.
Maybe the ones you just don't want to talk about.
Here's the first one. I'm going to mess up some of these names because they're unique.
And you can't say shit with a mouthful right now.
Well, I can't. The first one is Codard's syndrome. Brute, have you ever heard? He was drinking some of Brian's knob juice.
Brian Snob Juice is not going to be well coming out my nose. Oh, my God. Why don't you try that one again?
It's Cotard's. Or
Why don't you try spelling it,
or
Franklin County boy?
Cotards. It's Cotards. It's Cotards.
I think that's Cotards.
I'm from the mountains. I'm from the hills.
No,
You're from the mountains.
You ain't even from the hills. You're from the river. You're a river rat.
No, I am not a river rat fucker. I'm a flyer.
You're a river rat.
I'm Franklin County. Frankfurt High's river rats, fucker. We drove the pickup trucks. They drove whatever they could fucking steal. You don't call me no damn river rat.
I ain't from here, so I'm sorry I stepped in it. Go.
Cotard syndrome.
What is Cotard syndrome?
This disorder makes people think that they're dead. They think that
I felt that way.
he or she is dead.
Dead.
Counterintuitively, in more than half of the cases, these patients also think they are immortal.
So me at 18.
Treatment for these conditions can include antidepressants, antipsychotic drugs, or electroconvulsive therapy.
Oh my God.
So, to sum it up, they're the Walking Dead.
Yeah, but with the superiority complex.
Yes.
Because they're also immortal.
Yeah.
Oh my, jeez, what?
Cotards.
That.
Yeah. I've never known anybody that had that.
Well, but why would they announce themselves?
Well, it's very rare.
I should hope so.
Well, I don't think they're big into announcements. It's probably just kind of, they catch people that running like Jason did.
Well, they probably think they're all Highlanders or shit.
I don't know.
Carrying around swords, waiting
But
to find
that's
another.
rather a superiority complex that I'm dead, but I'm immortal. So it's kind of like a Dracula type thing, right? When
I
Dracula
suppose.
was dead, but also immortal.
Which
I don't know. You know what amazes me? This is a bit of a tangent. Why do women? And I'm going to use all y'all in this one. All right. All women that I have ever known think that vampires are sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
That's
what the
true.
fuck?
I don't get that.
Are
either.
you into necrophilia? The fuckers are dead.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even go out there today.
Well,
they can't go to the Kroger.
Well, that depends on which movie you're watching.
Well, the good movies, the Bela Lugosi.
The originals.
I ain't doing no damn Tom Cruise. All right. Ain't gonna be no. What was the one with Kiefer Sutherland?
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys. I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that. But I don't understand their fixation with vampires.
Yeah, I
and the
guess
romantic-
it's the seductive thing, but that's also just how they're portrayed. You know, you look at the what was it, Underworld, the Kate Beckinsale series of movies with the lichens, with the werewolves and the vamps.
with the Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman was there as a werewolf killer.
Wait, really? I thought that was before Hugh Jackman's time in movies. But
Kate Beckinsale is not that much older than Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman's older than Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah, but I don't remember him in anything.
I remember her in everything.
I bet you do.
So she is a fine-looking specimen of a lady.
Fine actress. Fine actress.
Thespian.
That's the word we'll use.
I can't say regular words, but goddamn, I can shout out thespian.
But sometimes the vampires are portrayed as these hideous monsters. You know.
The original one,
Well, that wasn't. Yeah. Well. Shut up. That was
that's
Bela
a disorder,
Lugosi.
I think. No.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure. I grew up on Bela Lugosi.
I thought he played the first
he
vampire.
He did, but I mean the one that was almost disfigured and I cannot remember which one that was. Anyway, I think we're going off on a tangent that we don't know what we're talking about.
Rabbit trails.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Cotard's syndrome.
Oh, my goodness.
You kind of think you're dead. Next one, mirror touch. I can't say this word. synaesthesia. Synesthesia, a rare condition which causes individuals to experience a similar sensation in the same part of the body, such as touch, as another person feels. For example, if someone with this condition were to observe someone touching their cheek, they would feel like the same sensation on their own cheek.
That must be very frustrating.
Many times when people have this condition, if someone was getting hugged and they would see them, they would feel like they too were getting hugged.
I bet they don't watch much porn, or maybe they watch a lot
I would
of
like
porn.
to watch. I would always watch porn. Always. My God, porn would mean so much more to me. Then. What you don't want to watch is boxing.
True.
You don't want to watch that.
Or Friday the 13th. Any version.
You don't want to watch that.
Halloween's probably not in.
I would just end up being at like flower shops and parades and I don't know. I mean, but that would have to be horrid.
I get that. I
This
don't.
is so obscure. They ain't faking this shit.
Well, they can't.
No, this is again. We don't judge.
I'm kind of judging.
You can't judge here.
I can because that's just weird. Come on.
It is weird.
It's not
Two
quite
guys
as
sitting
weird
in the
as
basement drinking bourbon on a Wednesday is kind of odd too. Just saying.
No, it's not. That's normal for me.
For us. All right, now help me say this word. CAP
Cap.
GRAS. Capgras. Capgras?
Maybe cope grass.
No, it ain't no O in it. It's A or A.
Cape grass.
Capgras delusion is a psychiatric disorder which a person holds a delusion that a friend or spouse or parent or other close family member or even pet has been replaced by an identical imposter that is out to harm them.
I think that's called schizophrenia in any real world.
It can be. A lot of these can be lumped into that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a very much an umbrella.
It is. Yeah,
diagnosis.
That's true.
But could you imagine? And they say that this can come on all of a sudden. This is not something that you get from birth. You can have been in a 15-year marriage, and all of a sudden you look at your spouse and think that they are an exact imposter that are out to seek you harm.
That's interesting. That my wife's grandfather.
We don't know if she exists.
She exists. Trust me.
So we're not certain about the grandfather.
All
right, now he's got a disorder.
right.
He's looking at his elbow going, what is this?
Well, it just felt like something was climbing on it. But,
on it?
Yeah, on it.
Get down on it.
My wife's grandmother, actually, was onset dementia. And we just thought, this was before we were thinking anything too much about it. But this incident convinced everybody.
Everybody.
Her husband had been out helping a family build a barn or something.
They were Amish.
I mean, he was only like 80 at the time. They were
Amish, yeah.
And he comes home, and she met him in the living room with a skillet, cast iron skillet, and waylaid him upside the head.
I bet she didn't think he was at the barn raising.
She had
That's happened to me. And there wasn't no barn raising.
What, you got
involved.
skillet run? Yeah. No, she
found out where I was.
She just legit, had no idea who he was. That's when we realized there was a threat. And boy, was it a threat, because before we could, I say we like had a hand in it, right? This was their family. I was supporting it, of course, but
praying for him.
Yeah.
The whole thing he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay here and pray for him. Good luck with that.
Well, I did offer, and we did offer Pop a place to stay, and because we were really the closest group that could take care of him and his needs, and just provide him a safe spot. But Pop, being the old school Nazarene gentleman that he was, he's like, nope, she can kill me if she wants to. that was his take on it. But I mean, before we could get her the care that she needed, she met him at the door with knives. And, I mean, this stuff...
Was it just him? Or did she have these delusions with other folk? Because in this dynamic, it would be one person.
Right. No, this was multiple folks. I mean...
All right, so she had she had
This
dementia.
was Alzheimer's. Yeah, this was Alzheimer's.
One of the things I found really interesting about this is they said pets.
I know. And of course, what do I think of?
Spicy.
I'm going to go home and like, who the fuck are you, dog?
That 27-year-old dachshund wants to bite me.
Right. She's out to get me now.
Comes off that pallet fast. I'm watching her.
It'll take her a half hour to get off the damn pallet.
But she's got a purpose now.
She does.
She's going to tear the shit out of my big toe.
She's looking at me funny
with,
out of that
with
one
the teeth
good eye.
she don't have.
Right.
All right, so next. These just keep getting weirder, people.
Mm-hmm. This Brian Knob juice working on me.
I'll tell you what,
It's good. It is good. Yeah,
But-
I take back what I said before because my palate was scalded by the Knob Creek 100. I still love me some Knob Creek 100, but if there's anything I've learned this evening, or it's actually reinforced this evening, when you're tasting bourbon for the first time, give it some time between comparisons.
Yes.
Because you
because
got to
it's
let
gonna-
that palate settle down.
You're going to get some contamination from
Yeah.
the previous
Yep,
previous sip. So, alien hand syndrome.
Oh my, really?
A
What's it?
rare mental disorder experienced a complete loss of control of a hand or limb. The uncontrollable limb often seems to take on a mind of its own and a will of its own, and suffers. I can't read if you're doing that shit. And sufferers have reported their alien limb attempting to choke either themselves or others, ripping clothing or scratching to the point of blood. So,
What's this called again?
alien hand syndrome.
So no fancy name for
No, not so much. We could call it AHS. We should make acronyms up of all
Oh,
these.
we could have a telethon.
Right,
for
AHS. AHS.
We should do that.
Yeah, we could. We could put a little jar over there at the 5-star
At the
when you go to the
5-star.
5-star to get
Yeah.
your morning biscuit. And just on you alone, I think we make some money. Because you don't read the fuck what that
No,
that jar's
I
for.
just walk in there with money and throw it around.
I don't want no change.
That's how I am.
I don't want no change. Here's
No.
my biscuit. I'm going to round up to the AHS jar.
That's right.
But this is kind of wild, too. I mean, again, I think you're talking about some extreme psychological issues.
Yeah, this is mental health issues.
All right, I'm going to tell a story here.
Uh-oh.
Because I used to work in social work back in the day, back when I was
That's right,
younger.
yeah.
And I worked with mentally handicapped, physically disabled adults. And many of them had multiple diagnoses. And this is when I was 21, 22, 23, thereabouts. Didn't know anything about anything. I've always had somewhat of a tender heart, and I was kind of drawn to this. Plus, I needed a fucking job. So we had people that, and back then they used the word retarded, and it was not a cuss word. It was not a politically incorrect word.
At times it was clinical.
Right, literally,
Yeah.
you would look at a chart and say profoundly mentally retarded, that kind of stuff. So, I had a lady that was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and I had never been around that before, but she was also diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. I want to tell you what, you put those two together, you got an interesting person to be around.
Several.
So I was part of, one of my jobs were, if somebody was going to have a behavior problem, they had trained me how to restrain them in a safe manner. So the social worker was going to tell this lady, I'm going to call her Carolyn, was going to tell this lady that they had to go to Eastern State Hospital for some tests. Mm-hmm. All of these people that I dealt with had been institutionalized at one point or another, back when institutions didn't look the way they do now.
Right.
They had Solar's wards, they were chained up in the basements, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When they heard Eastern State Hospital, that was not responded to in a good manner.
Right.
So this social worker asked me to be in the room with her. Now, Carolyn was an older lady, probably in her late 50s, very small in stature. And I was not scared of Carolyn.
Right.
And so she said, hey, Carolyn, we're going to have to go to Eastern State Hospital. Now, Carolyn was on lithium, was one of her medications. Lithium, if you drink, makes you want to drink to an excess. Mm-hmm. The more you drink, the more it decreases the the power that the lithium that it's having on your system. So you'll be more symptomatic the more you drink, to the point to where Carolyn at times would drink out of the commode.
Oh, wow.
Because she had that much of a compulsion to drink. We had to end up putting blue dye in the commode. So if she came out with a blue mouth, we knew she was drinking out of the commode. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm just chilling. I'm by the door. I'm chilling, you know. And Carolyn goes, can I have something to drink? And the social worker went, no, Carolyn, you can't. You've already eaten lunch. We're going to go on up there here in a minute. Well, I would really like something to drink. And the social worker says, no. She goes, I want something to drink. I'm not kidding you on that voice. I sat straight up, and I may have pooped. I could have had a full release. I don't know. I had been around this stuff, by this point, 2 or 3 years.
Right.
I had seen a lot of shit. I had never heard that voice come out of that little old lady. And the social worker handled it without a snap. She goes, Carolyn, get your stuff together. We're going. She goes, okay. Went back to that same voice. This is the freaky part.
Oh, that part wasn't freaky.
That wasn't
at all.
freaky. No,
oh, that's perfectly
This
normal.
is the freaky part.
Here it comes.
So I am set stone cold in this chair. At this point, I'm her bitch. I was scared to death. I didn't know she had that voice in her.
Right.
She's walking out. She looks down at me, and she starts singing, Jesus Loves Me, in the voice of a child.
That's good. That's horror movie stuff right there.
Oh, Lord Jesus. And she knew at that point she had me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've seen some of this crazy-ass stuff to where there ain't no explanation for it.
Now, what's interesting there, and this gets back a little bit, you know, if for those of you who have listened through our entire catalog here, you remember me talking about some of the stuff in our religion series, about some of the stuff I had encountered and all that.
Oh, I thought it was demon possession.
Well, I'm not sure it isn't. I'm not sure it isn't.
But whether it is or not, I think that's what it was called back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of a mental disorder,
Mm-hmm.
where you have multiple diagnoses of personality disorders.
Well, and I guess what I'm saying is, from my perspective from back in the day, and maybe my perspective now, those kinds of possessive disorders or possessive experiences manifest themselves as these mental disorders.
But, you know, also very timely.
Yeah.
That was very timely.
But because
it was situationally, it really fit the situation. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because if it were a mental disorder, if it were an illness, wouldn't that be a bit more chaotic than something that well organized?
I don't know. I think the mind can work in pretty succinct manners.
But what's driving the mind?
Well,
that's the point.
I think that's probably a deeper discussion that we could go into with all of the bourbon that we've had in our
Well, you haven't had that much.
You're right, I haven't, comparatively.
Where we typically are at this point in the evening.
Oh, my goodness, we're a bottle and a half in. I
mean, that Knob Creek was gone by this point. And
Lloyd is drunk.
Or on his Diet Pepsi from Penn Station.
But, so the next one, all right, the alien limb.
And then, of course, there's Alex.
The alien limb thing, the fact that it's not only that they don't recognize their limb, but it is causing themselves or others harm. And I wonder, and again, I didn't go into the weeds of these because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's been court cases, that have been wrapped around these to where I didn't commit murder. It was my hand. But I can see, or if you want to call bullshit on some disorders, call bullshit on these.
Yeah.
Especially this one.
This one, yeah. But, I mean.
All right. I want to just, don't wrestle with this one, because this next one's going to get you.
Oh, we got another one.
We get this last one.
Thank God. He can't even start with a straight face.
Bonothropy.
Bonafloppy. What? Sounds like something you've had.
Bonothropy. Very rare, but very scary disorder.
He just wagged his finger at me.
Bonothropy believes that they are cows.
I think I've seen videos about that.
I think I went out with one of them. often going as far as to behave as such. Sometimes those with bonothropy are even found in fields with cows, walking on all fours, chewing grass, as if they were a true member of the herd. Those with bonothropy do not seem to realize what they are doing when they act out, like a cow, leading researchers to believe that this odd mental disorder is brought on by dreams or even hypnotism. Interestingly, the belief that bonothropy is even referred to in the Bible.
Oh, Jesus.
Wait, listen. As King Nebuchadnezzar is described as being driven from men and did eat grass as oxen. Oh, brought the Bible into it. Brought the Bible into it. Wait a minute. We can just go on and do this. It was Old Testament. We don't believe in that unless we want to. Unless we're talking about knowing the ark and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
And those 10 Commandments.
And Moses.
That we got to have in the courthouse.
That's right. Unless we're talking about them. We don't believe in Nebuchadnezzar going out there and eating grass as an oxen. Acting like a cow.
I'm going to hell.
There was one girl I saw at a buffet that I was thinking may have this bonothropy.
That is just, no.
It's very scary.
Alien.
And very rare.
I bet it is. Because no damn fool's going to do that. Unless they're a damn fool. Oh, come on. What's the percentage on that?
I didn't do that with these.
Okay, good.
I didn't because these are
it's
very
probably
rare.
like 48%.
They're very rare, but very scary.
Oh, Jesus. Come on. I mean, I've been to a lot of bonfire parties out in the woods where there's
drum circles, hippie naked drum circles.
Where there's been all kinds of stuff passed around in
Nothing
jars
but
and
a
on
lot
plates.
of filthy naked hippies.
But I ain't never been out grazing with the cattle in the morning. I've been in a lot of weird places, but I ain't never woke up grazing with the damn cattle.
But, it's an interesting reference, and I like that they did that. That it dates back to possibly
could be
the Old Testament writings in which it was driven from men and did eat grass as an oxen. There is no other dynamic that to where you're going to be in a field eating grass like an oxen.
Unless the Lord drove you to it.
Oh, well, he's done some things.
He's done some things.
At least you don't have to kill your son.
That's true. That's true.
So in the grand scheme of things, I ain't Job. I'll eat some fucking grass.
Or Abraham.
So,
goodness.
But whether you have bonothropy, OCD,
PTSD,
GAD,
yeah, cotards,
OPP, you know me.
All right, so we're making light now.
Because we have to. That's what we do.
We do.
But any of these disorders, if you have them, they're not funny.
Right.
I mean, whether we think they're valid or not doesn't amount to a hill of beans.
It don't mean shit.
If you're out there in the field, if you have a cousin that's out in the field eating grass, you need to get that cousin help.
That's right.
Or milk it. I don't know. I don't know what you do with that cousin. I don't know what you do.
Yeah, it's between you and your cousin.
We all have a cousin or an uncle that probably fits in some of these
That's true.
odd ones.
Got cotards or alien hand or the
mirror.
Yeah, the mirror thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. If we got a cousin or an uncle with a mirror problem, they got late night HBO, and they never leave the attic.
That's true.
So,
or the basement, the bunker,
or the bunker. Yeah.
But well, hopefully this has
God.
shed some light on some really legitimate, scary,
very real.
Yeah, very real disorders that can be crippling to families, individuals, and friends.
Yes.
Anyone around them, and could possibly become very dangerous, as we're seeing now with group violence.
Yeah.
It used to be back in the day, somebody go out and eat the end of a shotgun, and that'd be all they do. But now they go to a mall, they go to a bar, they go to a church,
they go to with them.
Yeah. So if you see, and you know what, many times I call bullshit on what Root says because it's what I'm paid to do. But if you see somebody in your community, if you see somebody in your circle, in your family that's starting to show these symptoms, sit down and talk with them. I mean, because you owe it to them, you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the people around and their loved ones to do some sort of intervention to make sure that this doesn't get to the point of where it is harmful.
Yeah, there is absolutely no shame in looking out for your own family. And,
and sometimes it takes a hard conversation.
It does take that. And so, hell, you may always thought that Cousin Joe there was a little odd. So,
Well, he's out in the field.
choking himself.
You know, all I have to do is tap on the bucket, and he'll come right up.
He should. Yeah, that's right. So, go find another family member that knows Uncle Joe and have that Cousin Joe, maybe both.
Uncle Cousin Joe.
Uncle Cousin Joe.
Maybe you give him some Brian's knob juice.
No, let's not go wasting Brian's knob juice.
I'm going to tell you what's good.
The Brian's knob juice is pretty damn fine.
Oh.
But have those conversations, check with the rest of the family. It could be just your perception. It could be.
Right.
But if it's not, then, I've said it before, as James points out, it's on us to look out for our families first.
Especially in this regard.
Especially in this regard. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these issues, particularly if it's just lightly presenting, these things are medically treated.
And that was one of the things back in my former marriage. My
Which one?
Well, one of them. I will pop you in my alien hand.
Oh, yeah.
Will reach up and grab your colon from your ass.
Some people pay for that.
I will take a goose as a glove. Anyway.
I thought that was going to be one of these disorders.
Fear of geese. That's me.
Yeah, that's James.
But she looked at me at one point and she goes, "You know what? You may want to go talk to somebody." And I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "Well, you're not behaving and handling things the way you used to." And we were getting ready to have twins. We were dealing with loss of sleep and stress and stuff from our son. And now we've got twins coming. And again, I did not want a catastrophic event to where I hurt someone or did something I could not take back.
Right.
To become the reason that I did a 180.
Yeah.
So I have always tried to be self-aware of what I'm doing. However, it's nice to be able to have someone around you that sees things differently, because a lot of times we think we can maintain.
Yeah.
That this is not aware. That no one else is aware of this except for us.
Right.
But many times people are aware of it.
And we're badass men, so by God, we can
handle this shit. We'll fix it. But sometimes you need a fucking pill.
That's right.
And that pill makes your day go by a whole lot better. And there is no shame.
None.
Should be again, as that doctor told me years ago, you've done a great job. Good job. Life shouldn't be that hard. Let me help you out a little bit. Now, it doesn't mean that we're a proponent of a pill for everything.
That's true.
If you can't sleep a pill, you got to have a pill to wake up. You got to have a pill to poop. Oh my God, I'm pooping too much. I need to take a pill. We're not talking about that. We're talking about if you sincerely need something, if there is a mechanism in place out there that you can take something to help alleviate your condition. My God, man, try
Take care of it.
And if you do, keep on it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many sightings on this to where somebody had their shit leveled out. And they're like, "Oh, shit, I can handle this now." And they go off of it.
And then they go off, and then bad shit happens.
Right.
Yeah.
So if nothing else is going to be taken from this podcast, again, reach out to us on Facebook. Reach out to us on SlightlyUncomfortable.com. If you have questions about anything we've talked about, we'll be happy to address those. If you need help, we'll put you in touch with somebody that can help you. Yeah. We can't help you, but we can help you to find help.
And I think I can speak for James on this.
You need to be in more of a velvety baritone if you're going to speak for me. No, I have a velvety baritone.
Yeah, but I don't. So.
I know. If you're going to speak for me, you got to.
Well, just agree or not.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I forgot where we're going with that.
If you reach out to us, the last concern you should have from us is we're going to reach out for law enforcement, call the cops on you or anything like that. No. None of that shit's going to happen. Our interest, and one of the reasons we dove.
That's close to a word.
That's well.
Keep trying.
Okay. One of the reasons we did this show on this topic is to end up at this opportunity to say, let us help you if you got anything like this.
Yeah, I mean, we love to have fun. We love to get together and cut up and carry on.
And
and that's what we did here.
Yeah.
But at no point did we hope that we made any light of any situation that any individual's going through.
And all of our poking fun at even these extreme rare things. You know, we made fun with the alien hand and the cow people.
You know, sometimes I wish I had an alien hand every once in a while. You know, in the night when I'm by myself.
No.
I end up sleeping on it, get it to sleep first.
Just shut up.
All right, well.
But they don't need to hear this.
Her name's Cindy.
Oh, Jesus. You see, this is where we end up. Give us a little of Brian's knob juice, and it's all off the rails.
Brian's knob juice. It's not Weller 12.
It's not Weller 12.
But it's knob juice.
It's